amazing time, and actually ended up unexpectedly making desserts for the artists for Club Quarantine Los Angeles. So
that's so incredible.
Deborah Cox posted, and and she was like, she hit me up like, oh my God, the cupcakes for this. And I'm like,
I know that in your mind, like after you see that post, it should like number one pinching yourself, but you're like, is this real? Is this happening? Like how in the world, right?
Right. I'm like, my desserts were in the dressing room of like the IsleyBrothers, Sheila E., Eric Campbell, Common. I'm like, oh my God.
And everything you made, like you said, your red velvet, everything you made was from scratch, correct?
Yes. Yeah. That's
want people to know there's a difference between box and scratch.
Yeah, my family wouldn't have it any other way. So
thank you. Just want to drop that disclaimer in the chat right now that there's a difference between box and scratch. Please continue, Chef.
Right.
Yeah. TikTok, I'm just rolling on the block. Marisa took me, heard that. Pocket show about to start. Heard that. You should know if entertainment is your goal. You talking sports or travel, yo. This the hottest pot show. Heard that. She got her shoes, everything she says is truth. If you don't know, now you know. All you ever gotta say is heard that, heard that, heard that, heard that, heard that, heard that. Look, all you ever gotta say.
What's up, Heard That Nation? Listening in the United States and around the world, you are now listening to the Heard That with Marisa Tigney podcast. If you are watching right now on YouTube, hit that subscribe button for me so that you will be in the know of every new episode that comes out and the amazing guests that I have on the show. Like the one that I have here, another small business spotlight that I want to have everyone know, especially if you are a fan of baked goods like I am, especially my husband. She is phenomenal. She has phenomenal cookies and other treats that she makes. She's a pastry chef. She's an entrepreneur, a small business owner. Those that have known her for a while, and I met her and I had the honor and privilege of meeting her during Club Quarantine, that follow her page and have heard her sing. Absolutely amazing. I'm waiting for her to go on one of these shows. American Idol needs to give her a call or something because she needs to go on tour, cut a record or something like that. So very talented, very faceted, and I'm looking forward to hearing her story and inspiring so many people that want to start a small business. Chef Megan Ashley, welcome to the Heard That podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited and honored to be here talking with you. I haven't stopped smiling because I'm excited.
Oh, I'm so glad. Hey, listen, the energy and the feeling is mutual because like I said, we met in Club Quarantine and then we finally met face-to-face last year at Club Quarantine Las Vegas when you had your pop-up, which was very successful. And all I got to tell the listeners and those that were watching is you had to be there because she had a variety of amazing treats. People were very satisfied. I saw people that were trying to savor every single bite and every single morsel and then try to take them on the plane. Yes, this is true. This is a fact. Hand raised. But let me start with every business and every business owner has an inspiration, has an idea that they have written down of what they want to do. Yours, you're a talented pastry chef. So who was the inspiration behind you getting into baking? Or did you see someone on television? Was it, your parents or your mom that, started baking and you were intrigued by that? Like how did everything as far as baking start for you?
So to be honest with you, it was kind of a combination of all of that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But initially, of course, with family, my grandmother was an incredible baker. She was phenomenal. My mother, insane baker, just wonderful, excellent cooks. I have actually my uncles that are incredible chefs. I have an uncle who's a master chef. I had an uncle that went to culinary school, and I still call him and get tips and things like that. And my great grandmother, she was actually an excellent cook and baker. So it's the family thing. And I just was kind of the kid that always wanted to be in the kitchen, just interested in knowing. And, one of my aunts, she always tells me that I'm an old soul, but I always wanted to I wanted to learn how to cook like the grownups. Mm-hmm. And the other inspiration as far as television, I was the kid that loved watching Julia Childs.
Yes.
Seriously, like she was an icon and idol for me personally. I would turn on PBS.
And she
and
would
watch
draw
the
you
old
in,
shows.
whether it be something that she does with
Right.
fish or chicken or turkey or whatever it is. Her voice and her personality would draw you in, right?
Right. And I was like, I could just imagine myself, doing something along those lines. And I was just fascinated with her. And I'm like, the other kids are watching Transformers, and I'm like, Julie Childs is on.
Have you seen her? I think it was like a documentary. It was called Julia. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I did, and I loved it.
Yeah, such a great watch for those that are listening and watching. Check out Julia. Yeah, that was very fascinating, and finding out about her life, and then getting into French cuisine cooking, and so many doors that she opened up for so many people. I mean, I love that documentary. Plus, I was getting hungry the whole time watching it.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah, I think I watched Chef, all these different things. And I'm like, usually I'm hungry by the end, but I'm also inspired.
From that inspiration, and everything that you had said that you mentioned, what was one of the first things that you attempted to bake or did bake, and then you were able to take to like an event or to a party, and then somebody had mentioned, oh my gosh, Megs, you got something here.
So I started very, very early. And my first dessert that I remember making was red velvet cake.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been making that for a very, very long time. Like, I was a kid learning how to make that. And it turned out good the first time. It was better the next time. And then my mom transitioned me into making like German chocolate cake. So then it was like, I would do the red velvet and the German chocolate cake. And for me, the biggest was learning how to make our family rolls. So like the yeast rolls, that was like a huge thing. So
and everything you made, like you said, your red velvet, everything you made was from scratch, correct?
Yes. Yeah. That's
people to know there's a difference between box and scratch.
Yeah, my family wouldn't have it any other way. So
thank you. Just want to drop that disclaimer in the chat right now that there's a difference between box and scratch. Please continue, Chef.
Right. Yeah, so I learned those, and it started with my mom's approval. She would, because she's a very sweet lady, but she's very straightforward, and she'll let you know in her own way, what she could have did a little different. But when I got to the point where she was like, oh, this is good, or she would tell other people, that's when I felt like a grown-up. Yeah. She's like, she makes the excellent rolls. Oh, she's got the rolls down pat. And so that's kind of the first thing. But the red velvet was the first, and I kind of, tried to work on that as much as I could. And then I had some coworkers that had asked me about it. So, and this was, this is probably over 15 years ago now. And I made a funny story. I made a red velvet cake for one of my coworkers, and he said, well, I'll pay you for it. So I only charged him for the ingredients. And he was kind of like, and I'm like, if you make it from scratch, it's not a cheap cake.
Yep.
So I made it for him. It was a hit for this party he went to. And he asked me if I would give him the recipe, because he knew that his wife could make the same cake. And at the time I wasn't in business or anything. So I was like, okay. And I gave him the recipe. That man came back to me twice and kept saying, you left something out. And I'm like, no, but every time that I would tell him, he would have like, well, she decided she would do. And I'm like, she's not following the recipe. And then he's like, well, was it pretty expensive? So she would get the cheaper ingredients. And he's like, but it didn't taste the same. I'm like, so he found my number after I had left the job. It was 2 years later. I haven't changed my number in years. He found my number again and still insisted that I left something out of the recipe because his wife never got it right. And I very nicely told him, well, it sounds like your wife doesn't know how to read or follow instructions.
Right.
So he never forgot the cake. So
listen, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot take a cake that someone has made, and mind you, this is step-by-step ingredients that she gave somebody, and think that you're going to better it, and it's going to taste the same as your previous.
By skimping.
Right. Okay.
And shout out to all the bakers and those that do stuff from scratch, because here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, do not shortchange these people. The ingredients that cost to make something cost money. So people need to know that.
Hilarious.
People need to know that.
yeah, I couldn't believe he called me. It was 2 years later. And I thought it was hilarious because I'm like, sir, I did not hide the ball. I gave you everything that you needed, but every time you tell me there's a but or a well, and I'm like, they're not getting the disconnect. So, I didn't say it, but I'm like, lose my number.
Right. Because you can only tell people so many times. I'm like, I gave you step by step. I gave you the ingredients. It's what you end up doing with it and how you make it.
Right. That's what some people were like, you gave them the recipe. I'm not like that. My family's not like that. My grandmother wasn't like that, because like, it's still not going to be the same. So
no, because the person that makes the cake, the cookies, the pies, and all of that, I feel, and I agree with you. You can pass off the recipe to so many people and everything else. The original person, the original creator of that treat, of that cake, that cookie, it's a different vibe. It's a different flavor from everybody else that has that. To me, that's my opinion about that. And I'm sure many people will agree. So when you're putting your whole entire, your concept together of, you doing your cookies and all that, and you're getting that great approval for your mom, because moms know, either you got it or you don't, and you need to like do something else with your life. But she is the perfect, critic for your stuff, and she knew that you had it. When was it where you felt doing the next step and starting to form a business for yourself?
It really kind of started amongst my peers, because I was kind of, a lot of people in certain age groups, and, not, if you're not somebody's grandmother or like older mother, a lot of people, you're focused on your career and things like that. So I became the unique one that could make something like somebody's grandma. So so it started with that, with friends like, hit me up like, hey, can you make me this? And they, send the money or whatever. And I started shipping years ago, maybe like 7-8 years ago, but it wasn't, and I had a bit, really, before I even started with the baking, I was doing the culinary side of things. And my first business was Meg's Meals. So I was doing meal prep, and I would actually go into people's homes, meal prep for them for the week, for their families. And I'd have them in the containers, freeze them, all of that good stuff. And I was doing a contract assignment in North Carolina, and I linked up with this doctor, and she and her husband had super busy schedules. And so when I left, they were like, so what do we do now? And for a good while, I was shipping their meal plan. So I would freeze everything, overnight it. They'd have to put it right in the freezer and everything. And it was fun, but it was exhausting. Yeah. It was very exhausting, especially with food. So I was like, okay, I got to do something else. And the baking is definitely more therapeutic for me, but it it started with my friends, and then kind of went from there. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make the transition and switch this up, because cooking is wearing me all the way out. So
meal prep is no joke.
It's not. I had to, create the menus, and I was doing all of that. And I was like, my brain hurts a little.
Because it seemed like you went from like, preparing the meals, cooking the meals, and then literally you were like a nutritionist, and you were a dietitian, and all of that wrapped into what you were doing. I see why that you found baking be more therapeutic.
Right. Yeah. And I do love to, make the healthy suggestions and stuff, but I'm like, bacon just kind of, worked out. And then, just to further that, I did, went to culinary school, and really that's when I really started kind of honing my passion for it. And, learning just enough that I'm like, okay, I could see myself doing this, and learning, production and things like that. So that really helped. But yeah, shout out to my friends and my family.
When you did your early stages of your business and you knew what you were going to do, how did the name come? And then how many items at that time did you start off with on your menu, just to get your feet in the water, so to speak?
So I love the question of how the name came about, because it does have a sentimental connection to my mother's youngest brother. It was jokingly, they used to always joke about my personality, and kind of he compared to Raven Simone's character on That's So Raven.
Mhm.
But every time he would see me, he would call me Oh So Megan, and he'd be like, Oh So Megan. So he would say it all the time, and so it was kind of a he passed away some years ago, but we all, you know, when they have like your parents that have the younger siblings, you have a little bit of a different relationship with them than your older aunts and uncles.
Right.
And we had a cute little nickname for him. And so, you know, I was trying to think of something. And at the time, cupcakes were huge. And it was like a big thing. And I was making a lot of cupcakes. And that's what I was getting orders for events and things. And I was like, you know what? I think he has something there. So that's how I came with the Oh So, you know, so I was like, Oh So Cupcakes. But the Oh So, that's from my Uncle Al.
Right. Shout out to Uncle Al.
Shout out to Uncle Al. And then, so when I started out, it was mostly cupcakes. The cookies kind of came along. Well, really, the cookies came along during the pandemic. But I had my signature cupcake is the strawberry lemonade. And then I made a few other lemonade flavors from that. And then, you know, of course, red velvet. I have a purple velvet. But I'm
purple velvet. Hold up. Ma'am, what is the purple velvet?
You know what? It's a mix of flavors. It's a mix of a few different flavors together that just kind of came into something, a vanilla base, but then I kind of threw in a little bit of this, a little bit of that to give it a little bit of a different flavor, but it has like the same texture as the red velvet.
I may need a little bit of that to come to my house. I mean, that's not, I love red velvet cake, and then you just turned my whole entire palette around. I'm like, hold up, purple. Wait a minute.
It's a mix of unique flavors, but that's my thing. I was always trying to think of something that sounded a little different, tasted really good. You know, you might not be able to catch all of the flavors, but I'm always experimenting. It's a thing for me to just be like that. But yeah, cupcakes were the thing. So it was like the banana pudding, the strawberry lemonade, the red velvet, and I think I had a kind of like it was a chocolate caramel mousse, but it tasted like coffee. And then I did have the vanilla chai latte. Those were the ones. Oh, and German chocolate. So that was my menu, along with, you know, some of the cakes that I make, like the pound cakes and, you know, things like that. So that's how it started. And then when the pandemic hit, it was like, okay, let's switch this up. So I started experimenting with, well, a little bit prior to that, I had started experimenting with different cookie recipes and trying to create my own recipes. And it's funny to me because I know where some of them started and what the cookies look like, and what I kind of changed up, switched up, and what they look like now is like totally different, but it's the same base. But I started with kind of experimenting with cookies before then and having, you know, family and stuff test that out. And then once the pandemic hit, it was like, okay, it is much easier to get cookies somewhere than I knew I couldn't do cakes. I mean, the cupcakes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it went. And then, you know, after everything with Club Quarantine, you know, that's what kind of just, you know, and I had time to do it. So
I love hearing stories about that, especially during the pandemic, where it was a time where, yes, literally the whole entire United States was put in a timeout because we couldn't travel, couldn't go nowhere. I mean, for me, what was therapeutic is I would go walk to my car, go in, turn on the radio, and pretend like I was going somewhere, because I'm like, I just needed to get out. I needed to, you know, feel the fresh air. But that also for me was inspiration for this whole entire show. And that whole entire dynamic and that transition for me is just like, I'm not going to sit here and panic about, you know, being furloughed and not be able to work. And, you know, my nephew moved down here from Michigan to enjoy his senior year, which was cut short because of everything that was happening and was going on. So it's so great to hear that during the pandemic, how you know, got creative and you were coming up with different flavors and different marketing strategies and everything else. So during that time, Meg, did you notice that your sales were taking off more so during the pandemic, or was it at a stagnant, you know?
So it definitely picked up because I think people, well, for one, everybody was at home.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it was kind of like everybody was at home and they had a lot more time to pay attention to social media. So I was like, I'm definitely going to use this to my advantage because I'm home too.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I have a marketing background somewhat. I actually started out doing like web design and web building and things like that, but that was exhausting too, and I wasn't passionate about it. So I'll do things for my friends every now and then.
Right, and that's what I was going to ask you too, because your website is very easy. It's attractive. It has in the background all your delicious bakies, but it's just so simple. Okay, this is what I have offered. I'll click here. This is the price. Is how much you can get per. So it isn't so complicated. Did you have a problem also? Did you have a problem with mailing? Because again, during that time, getting packages in and out and everything else, and the warehouses and companies, especially with the products that you need, I'm sure. Did you have issues with that, with getting certain ingredients for any of your recipes?
So the ingredients, not so much. Luckily I was able to go to like Restaurant Depot, which they did pretty good with keeping the things that because a lot of people, they were going at that time mostly for necessities and things like that. So the treats, they kind of left those alone. So every now and then I would run into an issue with something, but for the most part, thankfully that I was able to do that. Now, as far as the shipping, it was strange. It was like off and on, I would have issues with delays, or, even like as a result of that, I realized that I needed to change my packaging because I was doing the cookie tins and they're very pretty and I was sealing them, but people were getting basically like ice cream toppings.
Which is a benefit, I feel, because you got to enjoy a whole cookie, and if you had crumbs left over, you put it on top of something. Right. I messaged you about that and I said, listen, every single crumb was utilized for its purpose when my tin arrived. We still have the tin. As my husband's asking me, when are we refilling it? I'm like, soon, sir, it'll be all right. But I found no problems with that. That's just be in my household. So
the delays were weird. I tried to stay aware of what was going on with the taskmaster, what do you call it? The mail guy or whatever that's over everything.
Oh yeah.
The person, the
postmaster,
postmaster, that's what I meant, not taskmaster. But postmaster. Like he was making all kinds of crazy changes. It was in the news constantly. And it's like, the ultimate goal for them is to try to transition things private, and people were, being laid off at the post office. And I'm like, okay, like, sorry guys, it's a little bit of a, so that was the, it was a learning process.
And I'm sure it wasn't. You had to adapt and adjust. And I know many small owners and small business owners had to do so as well to get their product out there. Unfortunately, we heard that during this pandemic, a lot of businesses folded, or it was too stressful for them, or, they took that pause and then now have began to reopen again. But you had consistently, adapted to having your product get out there, and then you were those that follow her, she would make a post like saying, sorry about the delay, this is what's going on. And people understood, because obviously we were in a pandemic, kind of still are. That's the thing about small businesses. So you have to adapt to the changes that you cannot control. You can control the brand, you control the name, you control what you make and everything else. But outside of that, if it is a shipping issue, if it is delivery or that sort of thing, or if it's sitting in a warehouse, because of what was going on and, kind of like what's still going on, those are things that you can't control. And I'm sure as a business owner, that was frustrating for you.
It definitely was, but, I realized, you can't control things that are out of your control. Like, so it's kind of like, you just hope that people will be understanding and be patient. And I do appreciate the fact that for the most part, everyone was very, very patient, very, very understanding. And, like you were saying with the post, that was, my way of maintaining transparency. And I think that that's a lot of well, businesses in general, but definitely small business owners, it can be extremely overwhelming. And, you know, sometimes people feel when they're overwhelmed or, you know, anxiety's high, they kind of feel embarrassed because they feel like I should have a handle on this, or I shouldn't, you know, I should know what to do, or I feel like I don't know what to do. And a lot of that can be alleviated with communication and just being open and being honest and not holding it all in, you know, freaking out and panicking, and, you know, also not asking for help.
Right.
You know, that's it's easy to fall into that trap. And I do even now sometimes, but I have to check myself. I'm like, no, be honest. This is what you need, or this is what happened. But that's one of the things. I'm a stickler for customer service. I used to do trainings to train other businesses, and I'm like, that's good customer service, or at least try to have decent at best.
Right, exactly. So is it just you that oversees this, or you have a very small team of people that help you with these orders in your business?
So I am a solopreneur, but I do have a team that steps in when I really need it. You know, I'm not just, you know, totally swamped. I have a pretty good support system that, you know, if I need something, I can run up. I have my aunt, she's a baker as well. So she's definitely stepped in and helped. And, you know, I can tell her, hey, I got this many orders. I need to do this. I need to do that. And she's more than willing to help me. She has her own business as well. It's Glam Pops for my soiree, but her Instagram handle is Glam Pops for MS. And she's amazing. She makes awesome cakes. So
shout out to your aunt. Shout out to her.
My aunt Jeanette. Yeah. So, you know, but we work as a team. We work really well together. So, you know, when she knows, and I know if I need her, she's right there.
That's so good. That's so good to have a support team that is there right there in your corner. So Club Quarantine is so amazing, especially during the time when we all didn't know, and we had a lot of uncertainty going on, and Derek Jones coming on, D Nice, for those that are fans of rap back in the day, Boogie Down Productions came on in that March, and it was a crazy time, like I said. And music, it was so great how music brought us all together, took us back to a place where we were able to dance and go to parties and go to skating rinks and go to barbecues and everything else. And he did that right from his kitchen, which was so cool. And so what was awesome too is that he had given you a shout out because you had made something for him. And so that's where my interest was, you know, that you had made some kind of cake or something for him. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. Wait. She bakes? Who is this? Who is this Megs? Who is Oh So Cupcakes? What is going on? Is this for real? You know, so when he gave you a shout out like that, I mean, I know that had to be so surreal for you. And have you made any other treats, and I'm sure you have, for any other people that are well known in entertainment and famous folk that have, you know, actors, actresses, and all that?
I have. I'm hoping to get a few more under my belt, but
let's go.
Well, we all know Spice is he's a character. Spice has had a few cookies.
His videos were reviewing your cookies was absolutely hilarious, but it was so Spice. It was so Spice how he was doing it. Yeah.
And he just recently told me that he's known for making red velvet cakes. So, you know, I think we might be working on a little challenge.
Yeah, okay.
We'll see how that goes.
A Chef Megs and a Spice Bake Off. I'm here for it.
Yeah, he's a character, but he's a really good person. And then some I guess you would say local for Los Angeles, some other prominent people. And you know, I just kind of, my friend said I don't say enough about who I've done stuff for, who I'm connected to. And I'm not that type of person. So I'm like, you know, I'll, even when I know it's okay to post or something like that, I'll still be like, is it okay? And then sometimes I just won't, because I'm like, that's just who I am. You know, I like to get a good rapport with people. And, you know, I'm like, I'll sign anybody's NDA, but even if I don't, I just won't say anything. And when we were in Los Angeles, you know, that was an amazing time. And actually I ended up unexpectedly making desserts for the artists for Club Quarantine Los Angeles. So
that's so incredible.
Deborah Cox posted, and I was just, and she was like, you know, she hit me up like, oh my God, the cupcakes are this, and this. I'm like,
I know that in your mind, like after you see that post, that you're like number one pinching yourself, but you're like,
right,
is this real? Is this
right.
happening?
And I'm
Like how in the world, right?
right. I'm like, my desserts were in the dressing rooms of like the IsleyBrothers, you know, Sheila E., Eric Campbell, Common. I'm like, oh my God.
Did you ever imagine this? Because I know that you said like you got a great support base with your family and everything else, but Megs, did you ever imagine that your cupcakes would be, like you just said, in the dressing room of Deborah Cox, in the home of D Nice, in you know, Spice Adams, you know, NFL legend, in his home? Did you ever think that your product would be in the hands of these people? Because I know still at times when you just like looking at their posts, or you're waking up and you're seeing your inbox with, you know, thank yous and messages, or your orders coming, and you're like, I can't believe I made this for them, or I can't believe that they want me to do. Like, that has to be surreal at some point.
Yeah, it doesn't really get old. I'm grateful that I've been able to make real friendships, you know, as a result. That's like the biggest thing for me.
That
But
part.
I do have moments where I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. But I've never been like the stand type, because I always feel like at the end of the day, they're human too, and not to minimize their accomplishments or their greatness, but people like to feel normal.
Yeah.
And they don't want it to be that, you know, okay, you're only talking to me because I'm this person, because you think I have this pull. So I've always been like that. Like I've always been in and around the entertainment industry pretty much my whole life. So, you know, that's been a thing for me, not to be taken the wrong way. I mean, because, you know, in general, you don't care what people think about you, but you do. So I've just always been aware of that. And I'm like, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you make friends, and, you know,
being authentic
I'm proud
matters.
of, right. Yeah. And I'm proud of everyone. And that, yeah, I do sometimes, like I'll see like somebody that I've done something, a celebrity that I've done something for, and I'm like, I just talked to them. Like, you know, so it does, I'm not being totally unrealistic. I'm not like everybody's my bestie or anything, but you know, it's cool. I don't know. Sometimes I think that I have moments where I struggle with imposter syndrome. So it's getting off of that. And it's funny, John Copeland, he was one of the people in LA that was like, look, you have done so much for so many people, and you don't say much, you don't post much. He was like, but look, if you don't post this, if you don't let everybody know this weekend,
and John will let you know.
And you know, he has a very special way of saying things that I can't repeat.
Right. John will let you know.
He got me together, and like D West, it was funny, it was two separate conversations, but they both basically said the same exact things to me, and was like, okay, and they were like, from here on out, we know you're modest, but look, you need to be like, you're doing some great things. And I'm like, you know, it's work.
It's what you love, Megs, and I think that is shown in every single thing that you do, and the items that you make and the items that you bake. But you also take the time to lift up other businesses. It's not just yours. You put other small businesses in the forefront, and you want them to grow and you want them to succeed. Absolutely. So what's made you start doing that? And what has the feedback been from small businesses that you've given a shout out to, or you posted on your page on Instagram?
So that started way before any of this, way before shutdown. I've always, because my family, it's a bunch of entrepreneurs. Yeah. And that's been a big thing, you know, don't, you know, in school they said, don't hide the ball, but you know, help people, because that's how you stay blessed, you know. Be a giver. It's not necessarily monetary, but you know, if you know something, there's no harm in telling someone and just being a help. Most of my family, we're all researchers, so we're always looking it would be fascinating to me to see like my grandparents and my mother and you know, my family, they would know so many things, like not just trivia things, but like health wise, and they could refer you to this, and that always fascinated me. And they would be 100% accurate. And
Yeah.
this is before Google and all of that. I'm like, some of the things I hear now, I'm like, they were telling me this way
A long
back,
time
you know?
ago.
So,
Yeah.
right, but it's always, you know, being a help and, you know, having that spirit in you to want to help others. So that's how it's always been. The first time that I shouted someone out, and I didn't find out until maybe months later. It was quite some time later, but their sales jumped like ridiculous. I want to say that I can't remember the exact amount, but I believe like the day or day after that I posted her business, I want to say she had like 75 orders in one
Wow.
day.
Wow.
And I had no idea. I was impressed with the product. It's actually, and we've actually since become business partners. I don't know if you know Chef Joelle.
Yes.
Yes. So she has a line. She's an amazing chef and culinary chef, and she has an amazing line of seasonings, and she makes all of them herself. And you know, she has a beautiful team of people that are working with her. And I was very, very impressed with the product. So I did a nice little video for her, and I didn't find out. I want to say it was a while, and I didn't even know. And she was like, you know, I've been meaning to tell you.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's amazing. You know, that's what I wanted it to do. So that's, you know, that's been a thing, just pushing people to let them know that you can do it. You can make it. You know, it's not going to be easy, but you know, keep going, and you know, being that lighter, that little bit of encouragement to let them know, okay, maybe I am doing something right. So that's how it's always been. And I like to see things done right and things done in excellence. And if I know I can help someone, you know, I'll offer that help. We actually, a friend of mine, I haven't done it in a while, but I was doing Wealthy Wednesdays where I go live on Wednesdays to highlight business.
I love those segments.
And yeah, and a friend of mine from Colorado, a really close friend of mine, I interviewed him. And while we were on there, we were acknowledging some of the small businesses in the chat. And we just right on the spot, he was like, you know what he asked the person what was one of their needs. And she was saying that she wanted to, you know, improve on her food photography, and that she would like to have one of the, you know, like the nice backgrounds where it's the back and the bottom looks like marble and things. And he was like, okay, we're going to buy you a backdrop. And we did, and we ordered it on Amazon, had it sent straight to her. And, you know, it was a couple other people we gave cash apps to. So, you know, it's just, it's from a genuine place. You know, you want to stay blessed, but you know, you just want to be, it's just nice to be nice. That's what my family has drilled in us, you know. So whatever I can do to help.
And to see people win, you know, that's the best thing ever, is to see people win and accomplish their goals that they want to do and things that they want to achieve. And they continue to, that kind of encouragement continues for them to fully believe in themselves. That's the best feeling in the world, when you see someone who is truly given everything to their passion, love what they're doing, love, you know, serving others through, whether through food or through, you know, whatever talents that they have. The best part is just seeing them succeed and seeing them win. So I love that you do that. I love that you highlight their business and their drive and their entrepreneurship as well. Where do you see your business going as far as Oh So Cupcakes? You've done cupcakes, you've done cookies, you have, as you and I talked about, still in shock of where your wonderful treats have gone, in whose dressing rooms or whose houses, or right there. And they've done numerous amount of posts and all of that to end our show with you. Where do you see Oh So Cupcakes going?
That's That's a good question. I'm going through some transitions now, and I've been mulling that over. I would love to eventually be in a place, a physical place where people can come in and out. But I have specifics on that one. But working on getting in stores, things like that, and really, really being able to focus on the business consultation of things. Of course, baking, and prior to, I was doing, weddings and things like that. So the fun stuff, catering, all of that, but really expanding into a place where I can still work, still do what I love, but have the business side, bring people along with me. So we're growing together. So
Right.
that's where I see just, growing and evolving. So, I'm still working it out and seeing. And also, before I forget, when we're talking about small businesses, so with August being Black Business Month, I am running a campaign right now where my brown butter chocolate chip cookies are on sale right now with a promo code BLESSED, and a portion of the proceeds for all of those sales will be sending money to small businesses and Black-owned businesses
That is
for the
fantastic.
rest of the month. So I have a post on my Instagram page, and I've been encouraging people to post their Cash App name. So even if whether someone buys some cookies or not, if you see somebody in the comments and you just want to bless them with the Cash App, it can be any dollar amount, but just something to encourage them, especially during this month.
That's so good. Oh, you see, you have such a big heart, and that's so amazing to see. And I think that is such a huge lesson for all of us in this business industry, to support one another and truly, genuinely support one another, not cattiness, not backbiting, not any spite or jealousy. I think that if we truly do support one another, that we grow, and it not just our business grow, but us as a person on the inside with our giving and seeing, outside ourselves, that precedence and that takes place is such a beautiful thing to see everything around you evolve and seeing who you are as a person evolve. And I'm beyond excited for you. And like I said at the top when I was introducing you, you have a phenomenal music background, and hopefully we hear some music from you soon, because you can sing, girl. Listen.
Thank you.
You can sing. And then that post that you put up with your father and both of y'all, that throwback video of you and him at the piano and both of y'all just singing together, it was absolutely beautiful. So I hope that your dad had a great birthday. And
I believe he did. Yeah, that's definitely my both sides of my family. We have singers and musicians, but my father, his family is very, very, very deeply rooted in music. My grandparents actually sang, and my grandmother sang in a singing group, a gospel singing group, and she would travel and all of that good stuff. So that's definitely that comes before music, comes before everything, honestly.
Yes. And y'all have an amazing talent. So keep doing what you're doing, keep growing, keep giving. And I want people to stay connected with you. So how can they follow you on social media?
So pretty much across all platforms, I am Oh So Cupcakes. So that's OHSOCUPCAKES. So at Oh So Cupcakes on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, not as much, but I'm gonna beef that up. And then of course, Facebook, there's Oh So Cupcakes by Megs. And then my website, www.ohsocupcakes.com.
And she's doing a great thing for August, ladies and gentlemen. So check out her page, check out how you can support other small businesses, how you can buy her amazing, amazing, delicious product, as I will do today, so that my wonderful husband, I will be wife of the year as soon as those cookies arrive. So they're absolutely delicious. You can definitely tell that they are made with love, and they are made with care, and definitely a lot of TLC into your product. Chef Megan Ashley, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thank you so much.
It's an honor, and I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. And everybody, thank you so much for watching and for listening. And as I always end the show, take care and stay safe. We out of here.